What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today, we're going to be getting into my Week 7 NBA Power Rankings. And before we get into this, guys, I just want to say these rankings are very tough to make this week. There are a lot of close calls right now. There's a bunch of gaps that you could just go either which way. So if your team's a little bit lower than or higher than you might have expected, just know this is very tight between these teams. So let's get into it. Start out with the number 30 team in this ranking. Going with the Detroit Pistons, going to be the worst team in the league this week. Actually, had a pretty fair week this week, but they're going to be dropped down a spot. They go 2-2. So not bad for the Pistons. I'm just not really impressed. Cade Cunningham's been out for some time, and that's been rough for the Pistons. It's just, that they stay competitive this week. They got 2 wins, but still, I do think without Cade Cunningham, this team is the worst team in the league right now. And yeah, that's just what I think about the Pistons right now. But then going to 29, jumping out of the worst spot in the NBA, I have the Houston Rockets right there at 5-15. Big win. A good week for the Rockets this week. They go 2-1. So getting out of that spot's big for them. I just do think without Cade Cunningham, the difference between the Rockets and the Pistons, the Rockets just have a little bit more talent overall. And that's just really all you need right now if you're the Rockets. And they now have a better record than the Pistons, which also plays into the factor. So it is very tight between the Pistons and the Rockets. You can go either which way, but I am going to pick the Rockets right there. Then another team that's close between these three, we got the Orlando Magic at 28, dropping down a spot this week. Magic, very rough week. They go 0-2. And then again, the difference between the Rockets, the Pistons, the only thing that's really keeping the Magic above for them right now is talent. They just got a little bit more talent, in my opinion, on this team. Now, this team's just not very well coached really at all. I do think they got to figure some things out. But yeah, the Magic at 5-15, they go 0-3 this week. Very frustrating week for the Magic. After a week where they were kind of finding themselves a bit, especially in these rankings, they're going to find themselves back down at 28. Let's go to 27. A team dropping down 2 spots, very close to just being the worst team in the NBA right now. The San Antonio Spurs. I'm giving this team the benefit of the doubt because they looked very good at the beginning of the year. And this team has Greg Popovich as their head coach. I do believe that Popovich can turn things around, but the lack of talent on this roster is very bad. They have a minus 10.5 differential right now. Another very bad week for the Spurs. They go 0-3. This team, I believe, has lost 8 straight at this point. Yeah, 8 straight. And yeah, they have the worst differential in the league at minus 10.4. The next worst is minus 7.6 for the Pistons. So it is a pretty big gap there. The Spurs are very close to being the worst team, but like I said, I do have the benefit of the doubt of them for having a solid start to the year. They were looking like 5-1, I do believe, to start at the season. It has gone way south for the Spurs team, though, ever since. But we're going to see if they can keep it up. These 4 teams right here, very tight. But going on to 26, we have the Charlotte Hornets jumping up 2 spots. Really, the Hornets, I'm just doing this because LaMelo Ball should be coming back soon, and these Spurs and the Magic, who were above them earlier, did not look good at all. You look at the Magic this year, been a frustrating year with Ball being out. They do have talent other than Ball, but just without Ball, this team is not a great team really at all. They need him back. He should return soon, I do believe. They really do need him back, though. I do think that once he can come back, this team can be more competitive and get into that in the hunt tier. But jumping up 2 spots, this week they go 2-3, so a little bit of a better week. But yeah, that's where the Hornets find themselves right now. Let's go down into the in the hunt tier now. So a tier gap up. Number 25 right now, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder going to be dropping down a spot. The Thunder find themselves at 8-12 right now. Frustrating week for the Thunder. They go 1-3. Not a good week for them. But the Thunder, I still think this team's the same thing right now. I'm just not entirely sure that this team can stay in this hunt right now. It's very, very close to dropping into the bad tier, especially in this West. But the Thunder, they're a competitive team. They got some talent around with Gilius Alexander. They got some pieces that they could build upon. But just an ultimate lack of talent on this Thunder team that's just holding them back right now. And that's why they're 8-12 and right now at 25. But another team that's very close to dropping out of this tier. We'll see if they do. Honestly, I'm going to... Okay, never mind. Let's just keep them there. All right, let's go to number... I was debating dropping them down, but we're just going to keep them there for now. Let's go to number 24. We have the New York Knicks sitting at 9-11 there. Yeah, New York, just not a very fun team to talk about. I'm going to be honest with you. Go 2-2 this week. Just another average week for the New York Knicks. They're sitting right at 9-11, which is just average. Yeah, I just don't really believe in the Knicks. They got some pieces with Julius Randle, Jalen Brunson, RJ Barrett, but no superstars. I've said it over the past few weeks, and they're just going to continue to be average like this without a star player. So the Knicks find themselves dropping down 2 spots with some of the other teams having good weeks and jumping ahead of them. So that's where the Knicks find themselves right now. Just a very easy team, I'm just saying at this point. Very easy team to jump ahead of at this point. All right, let's go number 23. We have the Los Angeles Lakers going to be jumping up 3 spots. Lakers really were at rock bottom a couple weeks ago, but they found themselves a little bit more. Go 2-1 this week, so not bad for LA. With the Knicks not playing really good, and with the Thunder struggling, I do think it's right for the Lakers to jump up. Obviously, they have LeBron James and Anthony Davis. They're stepping it up for this team. They don't really have much else there, but it's enough, I think, for them to be the 23rd best team in the league right now. Still don't really believe in this Lakers team really that much. But they're going to be jumping at 3, so congratulations to them. Let's go to 22. We have the Chicago Bulls just going to be jumping up a spot this week. Bulls, very frustrating week last week, but this week they go 2-1, so starting to find themselves a little bit more, clearly, but still the same problems for this Bulls team. Just they got a lot of lack of talent. They struggle on the front court, but they got a lot of solid pieces here with DeRozan and Levine, Vucevic. This team should be better than what they're at right now. But they're 8-11 right now, and very disappointing start. I do think they can turn things around, but I am going to keep them in the hunt here for now. So that is number 22, and now this is where things really get interesting for these rankings. 21 to number 9, I think, is where we're going to have really a lot. I mean, that is a big gap according to numbers, but yes, it was very tough for me to rank 21 to 9, really 21 to number 1. It's just tough to rank these whole things, but we'll see. We'll see where this goes right now, but I could see a lot of these flipped around a lot. But let's go 21. We have the Indiana Pacers going to be staying at the same spot. Yes, I know the Pacers are 11-8 right now. Don't get me wrong. And they're in the play-in tournament because of it. This team has proven that they can win. This week, my opinion doesn't change on the Pacers. They go 2-2. This team, very well coached. This team just finds ways to win, but it's just not a very good, talented roster. That's why that's holding them back from me putting them higher. I do think this team is still at 21 right now. It's tough, though. The Pacers have been a solid team. I am going to give the Pacers the number 21 spot, though, right now. Let's go to 20. We have the Sacramento Kings. The Kings sitting at 9-6. They jump up stay in the same spot. Sorry, but Kings go 1-2 this week. So yeah, my opinion really doesn't change on the Kings. The Kings have been this mediocre franchise for a very long time. They're trying to break that curse and make the playoffs this year. Can they do it? We'll see. They got the Lakers now catching up on them in these rankings. I'm not sure if the Kings are going to make it. Oh, wait, they actually are in the hunt here. My bad. But yeah, this team I don't think is a top 10 team in the Western Conference right now, and I do think that they find themselves down in the hunt here again this week after going 1-2. My opinion really doesn't change on the Kings though. They got talent, just not enough for me to really jump them up. Going on to number 19, we have the Toronto Raptors staying at the same spot as well. There's the Raptors. Okay, the Raptors are 10-9 right now. Go 1-1 this week. Just not really a lot to talk about the Raptors. Same old team that I've been saying. Well-coached team. They got, some pieces there with Siakam, Van Vliet. Not really a superstar player, but they're very, very well coached, very competitive basketball team, and they find themselves at number 19. Going on to 18, a frustrating week for this team. We have the Washington Wizards. This week, go 0-3. They are going to be staying at the same spot at 10-10 right now. But not a good week for the Wizards whatsoever. 0-3, you just don't like to see it. You got to get at least one win in there. This was the Wizards' chance this week. There's been a lot of teams dropping down, as we're going to see with the next few teams here. But with them struggling as well, I just can't move them above him. So I do think that the Wizards, but then again, the Raptors, Pacers, Kings didn't really impress me this week either, so they are going to hold on to this 18th spot. We'll see if they can respond after a rough week this next week. But let's go to number 17, a team making a massive dip this week. We have the Utah Jazz dropping down 7 spots at 12-10. So the Jazz were in the top 10 last week. They were really playing good basketball. Last rankings I did this, but not a good week for the Jazz. They go 0-4. Clearly, Mike Conley, that injury is rough for Utah. They need him in there. He's just such a good leader for this team. He's a great passer. He's a decent enough defender. The Jazz need that veteran presence there in Conley. But the Jazz, very well coached team. I still believe with Will Hardy. I do think this team is fine. They had a rough schedule this week. They're going to go on a home game stretch here. So I do think the Jazz are going to respond from their struggles. But yeah, like I said, Conley's a big piece to this team, and it hurts for him not to be in there. And we're gonna see the Jazz. I put them on my thumbnail thing 2 times since basically I just do the team that makes the most movement in my rankings as the thumbnail. So the Jazz are gonna get the thumbnail for the 3rd time, but for the wrong reason this time. We're gonna see if the Utah Jazz can respond after a rough week. Because I was really high on the Jazz after that one. I was debating putting them even in the contenders tier because they were looking very good earlier. But clearly the lack of talent has caught up to them in these past 4 games. Let's go to number 16. We have the Dallas Mavericks dropping down 5 spots here. For Dallas, another frustrating week for this team. This team goes 0 and I'm trying to see. Yeah. This team goes 0-3 this week. So not a good week whatsoever for Dallas. Like I said, I just don't think Luka Doncic is enough to carry this team, to be a contender, like I was saying earlier, and it's proven. They can struggle. They have Spencer Dinwiddie. They just don't really have a lot of pieces there, though. And, they got to find some pieces around Luka, or else this team, I just don't really, in this tough Western Conference, I just don't really believe in the Mavericks too much. I'm going to be honest with you. And they just proved it this week. So dropping down 5 spots Mavericks, just a kind of a weird team to rank right now because they have the talent with obviously Luka. He's been phenomenal, but I do think it is a team that you should be careful about in your rankings. They could really, they had a rough week. But let's go to number 15. We have the Portland Trailblazers. Let me get them. The Trailblazers this week go 1-3. So another rough week for the Blazers. Like I said, a lot of people would, carping at me. The Trailblazers should be higher. The Trailblazers should be higher. They are one of the best teams in the league. I kept them down. And this proves it. Very similar to the Mavericks. Damian Lillard has had a heck of a season, but they really don't have a lot other than Lillard. And I just don't think Lillard's going to be able to carry this team to a championship. And in the tough Western Conference, these Mavericks and the Blazers are literally very similar teams right now. It is close between those two. But yeah, the Blazers, with a lot of other teams having better weeks, I do think it was right for me to drop them down here. We'll see how they respond, but they've had a rough couple weeks in these rankings. Let's move on to number 14. We have the New Orleans Pelicans sitting at 11-8, jumping up 3 spots. The Pelicans taking advantage of these Jazz, the Mavericks, the Blazers struggling and jumping up right now. Yeah, the Pelicans are an impressive team, honestly, with Zion Williamson there and Brandon Ingram, as well as CJ McCollum. This team can be scary. This team can beat almost about everybody. It's a very inconsistent team, but this team just had a good week at 2-1. So with teams that are struggling, I do think this team is a better team than the Blazers, Mavericks, or Jazz right now. They find themselves at 14, jumping up 3 spots. Good week for the Pelicans. On a normal week, they wouldn't be jumping up this much. Played all right. 2-1's not the best, but congratulations, Pelicans, moving up. Going on to 13, we have the Philadelphia 76ers jumping up 2 spots. This team is going to stay in the play-in tournament tier, though, in my opinion. This team does go 3-1 this week, so an impressive week for the Sixers. But like I said, Joel Embiid, this is basically the Joel Embiid show. They got talent, don't get me wrong, around him. But once they can get back James Harden, then I can start taking this team more seriously. They have an easy schedule. They play the Magic twice, and then the Nets that they beat. They did lose to the Hornets. So, yeah, the Sixers, my opinion really doesn't change on Philly. Joel Embiid, it is his team right now. He's carrying them. He's such a good player. But I do think this team isn't enough to be like a top-tier team right now in the league. So the Sixers, I do think, are the number 13 team at 11-9. Let's go to number 12. We have the Minnesota Timberwolves jumping up 3 spots and into the playoff tier. Timberwolves taking advantage of the Mavericks, the Blazers, the Jazz dropping down. The Timberwolves do go 2-2, so not a good week. Well, a good week, but just a mediocre week for the Timberwolves. This team, they obviously have a lot of talent with Rudy Gobert, Karl-Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards, D'Angelo Russell. They're starting to piece those together and be a better team than what they were earlier on this season. And the Timberwolves are playing good basketball right now. They have an average record, but they have really turned things around from a rough start. So I do think that they're the number 12 best team in the league right now, sitting in the playoff tier. Let's move on to number 11. We have the Brooklyn Nets jumping up 3 spots as well at 10-11 for Brooklyn. The Nets right now. This team goes 2-2 this week. I do believe. No, 2-2, sorry. But clearly adding back Kyrie Irving's helped this team quite a bit scoring. It hasn't been the Kevin Durant show. all around now that they get back Irving, Durant. I'm not sure about this trade situation right now. Clearly, this team's screwed this season if they trade away Durant for like a bunch of picks and go rebuilding. But yeah, we're gonna see if the Nets can continue rolling right now. If they can get a good week together and show that this team's legit, this team has the talent to be a top tier team. We'll see if they can put that together though. Let's go to number 10. We have the Atlanta Hawks. Dropping down a spot right now. The Hawks, just a rough week for them. Go 1-3. The Hawks just this isn't too bad for the Hawks right now. Obviously, Trae Young, Murray, they have a lot of talent on this team. But this team isn't great on defense, and that's been a problem with them. And they just really they have a minus 0.3 differential, so they can really lose to anybody. But they can beat anybody, and that's really not a recipe for success to be a contender. It is a recipe for success to be a playoff team, though, and that's where I do think they are sitting at right now at number 10. Let's go to 9. We have the Miami Heat jumping up 4 spots. Now, I don't want to get too high in the Heat and move them back into the contender tier. This team is just very streaky so far this season. The Heat this week go 3-1. So starting to get back on their groove a little bit more. But, there is a but. We saw this team do this 2 weeks ago. Have a good week and then they struggle again. So I have no idea what to think about the Heat right now. They're going to be sitting at 9. This team can be a contender in my eyes. If they can piece together some things and be more consistent right now. They've got to be consistent. Another consistent week might be able to move them up. We're going to have to see. But the Heat right now, very close to moving up into that contender tier. And a good week for them. Sitting at 9, I do believe in the Heat. They just got to fit some pieces together right now. Let's go to number 8. We have the Golden State Warriors in the contender tier, staying at the same spot at 11-10 right now. The Warriors, so this team this week goes 3-1, 3-1. So they're starting to get back their groove. They're above 500 now, so the defending champs. Watch out, an NBA. Steph Curry's playing lights out, as he always does. Klay Thompson's playing all right. I do think he can be better for this team. The defense is a worry still for the Warriors, but they're starting to find this offense a lot more, is playing a lot better, and that's what makes this team so scary right now. Are going to stay at 8 because this contender here is so tight right now. But let's go to the number 7 team. We have the Denver Nuggets dropping down 3 spots. Okay, so don't really take any stock into that, honestly, that drop down 3 spots. It was just because I was unimpressed on the other teams below them. But now I'm impressed with these other teams more. And the Nuggets, don't get me wrong, this team, they got Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. Jokic, MVP player, the past 2 years. Just a very, very good player for the Nuggets. But, a lot of these other teams are winning right now. But just don't take any stock into that drop-down 3. It's very tight between these other tiers. I do think that the Nuggets are a very good team and a contender at that. But, I do think there's some better teams right now that I'm about to list. So going on to number 6, we have the Memphis Grizzlies at 12-8. The reason the Memphis Grizzlies dropped down so much last week is because of the Ja Morant injury. Ja Morant's healthy. He's playing back. So the Grizzlies are just fine right now. This week they go 2-1, so not bad for Memphis. Morant, obviously a top player for this team. This is a very young team, a very hungry team, and this team is scary if they're on. Sitting at number 6, I do think that's the right spot for them, and that's where they're going to find themselves. Going on to number 5, we have the Cleveland Cavaliers. Going to be jumping up a spot for Cleveland at 13-7. Yeah, the Cavs. This Donovan Mitchell trade has just gotten better and better for Cleveland. They go 3-1 this week. So that one rough week was just a fluke because this team has found their groove back again. Donovan Mitchell's playing at an elite level. Garland obviously helping them out. A lot of people underestimated Donovan Mitchell. I was a real big Donovan Mitchell fan this season, over the past few seasons. So I really do believe in Donovan Mitchell. He's proven it right now. He's a great player, and the Cavaliers are benefiting from that trade right now by a lot. And they're a contender right now. They're a top 5 team in my eyes. We're going to see if they can keep getting better. It's a very young team. It's a very scary team, very similar to the Grizzlies. Those two teams are tight, but I do have the Cavs just barely ahead. Going on to number 5, we have the LA Clippers jumping up a spot at 12-9 right now. The Clippers this week go 2-2. So not a bad week for the Clippers. But now that Kawhi Leonard's back, obviously it's going to take some time for Kawhi Leonard to find back his groove. He hasn't been in for a long time. So that's a reason why he has struggled a little bit. But Paul George coming back. This team is scary if they're healthy right now. I am telling you, this team is a top contender if they have their pieces together. And I do think that Kawhi Leonard can lead this team, but in order for this team to be like a top 3 team or a top 2 team, the best team, they're going to have to string together some big wins here. We're going to have to see that Kawhi Leonard can turn things around. But we're going on to number 3. We have the we have number 3, the Phoenix Suns at 13-6 right now. The Suns go 3-0 this week, so good win for the Suns. Good week for the Suns. Clear right now, just now starting to separate themselves a little bit more in the Western Conference. This team is a very good team with Devin Booker and Chris Paul. Like I said, though, every week we're going to have to see what this team looks like in the playoffs again. Can they win a championship? Because Suns fans are desperate for one, I think. They want one bad after all these years. We're going to see if they can do it. But right now are a top 3 team, in my opinion. Going on to the top 2 teams, again, we're not going to have any movement here. Number 2, we have the Boston Celtics, and number 1, we have the Milwaukee Bucks. Clearly the top 2 teams in the league right now, in my opinion. So it's close, though. The Celtics go 3-1, the Bucks go 3-1. So my opinion really doesn't change on both these teams. The Celtics, very good defensive team, a lot of talent in the offense. This team is very, very good, and a very scary team. The defending Eastern Conference champions. And then obviously the Bucks. Giannis Antetokounmpo is the star of the league, in my opinion. I think he's the best player in the league right now, and he deserves to get his recognition at 14-5 right now. The Bucks, I just think, are slightly a better team over the Celtics. It is tight, though. I just believe in the Bucks a little bit more. Celtics a little bit younger. That has something to do with it. But, yeah, also I do think that the Bucks just have a little bit more talent. But ultimately, you can flip either of these teams, and I wouldn't be mad. And I can see myself flipping them soon. It's close. The gap is about the same as it was last week, though. The Bucks just barely have the edge. So anyway, guys, thank you all for watching this video today. Hopefully y'all enjoyed the content. Comment down below your power rankings. And anyway, peace.